Welcome to Spa-Francorchamps, one of the greatest challenges on the F1 calendar. Now this is round 10 of the World Championship and the title race is finally poised. We arrive in Belgium with Kimi Antonelli leading the rest despite not scoring in 2 of the last 3 races. George Russell, his teammate, is 25 points behind with a resurgent Lewis Hamilton of Ferrari in 3rd. So what will happen here in Belgium? Time to find out. Welcome along to Weekend Warm-Up. And we've got a live audience with us down here in the pit lane, a pit lane walk happening alongside us. Chris Medland, Juan, Pablo, Montoya and Alex Brundle join me to build up to the Belgian Grand Prix. And guys, I'm excited for this one. It is overcast, but don't let that fool you. It has been really warm today, and when the sun does come out, it's roasting. We're enjoying the European heat wave here. But how is the weather looking through the rest of the weekend? Because in true Spa style, there is weather on the horizon.
Yeah, I mean, the forecast, for what that's worth, says there might be a little bit of rain tomorrow, but you never can tell here at Spa. It's got its own little microclimate. Longest circuit of the full Formula One season. It's over a massive area, so even if it's not raining here in the pit lane, it can be raining over the far side. Practice day rain could lead to difficulty for teams in getting the cars up to speed in what's a really complex track for how you fly the car in terms of its ride height down the long straights.
And for these 26 cars as well, the first representative wet sessions. Juan, Pablo, we were looking at your results here, weren't we, as we were building up to being on air. You couldn't quite remember. Chris Medland had to get the phone out and do a bit of Googling, but 2 pole positions and a podium here. Your last ever pole position was here at Spa. How do you get it done on a circuit like this?
It's fun. It's a fast track. It's a flowing track commitment. Yeah, you know, the high-speed corners here, they're not crazy fast. I mean, a Rouge is crazy fast, but it's not really, you know, you can go flat out through there pretty much every lap, so it's not really a corner. For a driver, the sensation is amazing, but it, you know what I mean, once you do it once, you're done and you can get on with it. But the middle sector, they're all really long corners and flowing corners, and getting the timing right, it's like throwing the car as fast as you can, but make sure you don't get out of position is key.
Chris, as ever, so much news, so many rumours swirling about this F1 paddock, as there always is. What are you keeping an eye on, though, for the weekend?
I've been listening to Max Verstappen and what he's had to say today, because there's been a lot of talk and chatter around his future. So that's definitely one that everyone's been keeping an eye on. But also from the competitive aspect, just Ferrari versus Mercedes. How close can that stay? How much can Ferrari put pressure on as Charles Leclerc comes out to see some fans who'll be very happy that he's in pretty good form arriving here?
For one moment, I thought they were cheering you, Chris, and I look over my shoulder, and there is Charles Leclerc. And it's a wonderful moment of timing, because he was our race winner last time out in Silverstone. Let's take a look at what happened.
We meet again at Silverstone. We're about to see amazing speed as the best in the world chase the trophy.
Ice in my body, I'm cold under pressure, recovered like I had no heat in the vents.
Worst case scenario for Antonelli. It's a Ferrari 1-2.
Ready for war, I've been deep in the trench, been jumping since I had him squeaks in the bed.
Kimi Antonelli taking 2nd position.
Can't leave it to chance.
Russell doesn't have the pace at the moment.
And Verstappen tears by.
Box. And we have to serve a 5-second penalty for the start.
George Russell also pits and comes out ahead of Hamilton.
Charles Leclerc trying to win his first Grand Prix since 2024. He's got a healthy lead. Lewis Hamilton all over the back of George Russell.
I'm giving it all I can give.
They are lighting up Silverstone.
George Russell's got the place back again.
Nothing broken in the car.
He's got a problem. And Kimi Antonelli is pitting.
Suspension is broken.
Max Verstappen is in the gravel and out of the British Grand Prix. Oh my word, we have a full safety car.
Unbelievable.
Charles Leclerc's day finally arrives at Silverstone.
Let's go!
The British Grand Prix delivers again.
Charles Leclerc then, our most recent race winner, and a man who so needed that, having not taken that top step since 2024. He's being absolutely mobbed just behind us here in the pit lane, making some fans' days, and he will be delighted, I think, to come back to what's been a very happy hunting ground in recent years for him, indeed picking up his first ever win here. Chris, last time out though, Silverstone, Charles Leclerc. How delighted will he have been? How much will that have been a bit of a monkey off his back?
I think what was crucial for him is the fact that it wasn't a weekend that went completely smoothly from the start either. It's one that he had still some issues with, that he'd been struggling with that car heading into that weekend. Wasn't delighted on Friday, but found a direction to overturn that and then have a strong rest of the weekend. And I think that's crucial because he saw the actual progress on the same track, like for like, and that's given him confidence that, okay, I'm on the right path here.
Yeah, it's a magic moment for a driver, isn't it? And he described through the weekend how he found not just something about the circuit at Silverstone, he found a tendency that works with the Ferrari by digging through the data. And when you do that, you can then apply that through the rest of the season and the gains compound. In what was a stronger weekend, I think, for Ferrari than we expected as well, finally making the most of that Adduo upgrade to the engine, which saw a benefit.
Yeah, the hard part with this is you think everything is going to match up, and it really is not that simple. The hard reality of it is, yes, you understand what the issue is, and you're going to come up with a different base, and you might come here being, high speed like Silverstone and go, oh yeah, it worked, but then we go to Hungary and everything can be out of the window. So it's going to be exciting. For me, the other side of the coin of this is Lewis. If you're Lewis, you need to bounce back, and I think this is the right place to do it.
Yeah, that false start will be preying on his mind, especially at a place that he absolutely loves. He maximised what he could, but of course, George Russell getting track position there in P2 and the safety car not coming in meant it was P3 for Lewis Hamilton. Let's hear, though, from his teammate who won last time out. He's talking about the turning point of the car at that weekend.
It's very difficult to say because it's not as easy as there's that one moment where you realize everything you've done wrong. So it's a lot of work and trying to understand in the data what is making myself less comfortable with these cars. But there's a moment on Friday night in Silverstone where I saw a detail and I was like, okay, this is very difficult to quantify, but if I happen to change that and to make it more to my liking, then my feeling will most likely be a lot better. And when I did that on the Saturday in the afternoon when we could change the car, things were a lot better. So yeah, that's a good thing. But unfortunately, I cannot give much more details. So I don't know if it makes much sense. Keep trying to explain it without giving the details of it, because there's very little sense in what I say that way. But just to say that it relies on very fine details, and it's not as black and white as it might seem. But it was cool to see that it paid off.
So can you shed some light on whether it was just braking or was it deployment? Without getting into specifics, can you tell us?
Was everything. Braking, accelerating, turning point.
Exactly.
Everything.
Exactly. No, I cannot go into the detail of it, but no, it was a bit of everything. But it was in a particular part of the corner. It was not braking, and I feel better with it.
Charles Leclerc getting a grilling there, but most importantly, philosophical changes within that car and feeling better in it. And what a track to feel more comfortable, to feel more confident. Interestingly, Ferrari have been busy doing some testing at the Madrid circuit, getting a little sneak peek of that one. That's pretty clever, isn't it?
Yeah, it's always good to have a look around. I think Madrid might suit, actually, that Ferrari. 22 corners, lots of slow speed switchbacks. That's where they've been really strong throughout the year so far, but it's going to be a good challenge for everyone.
Okay, considering, as you mentioned, Alex, that Ferrari have taken advantage of the Adduo upgrade, that PU is certainly looking more powerful than we expected in Silverstone. How do you think they will go here, given that we've got such big, powerful straights, a hugely power-sensitive circuit?
I think they have a shot at beating Mercedes here. I really do, because one of them, you got a lot of handling corners that they do a really good job. They're, the chicanes and the hairpin turn ones, so they're very good at that. And it's just the type of track I think it suits them. So this might be the best challenge that Mercedes is going to have. Yes, they won last week and everything, but this might be a Ferrari weekend.
When you look at where they were strong at Silverstone, the area between sort of Copse, Maggots and Beckett, what you've got here at Spa is from Les Comps sort of through to Stavelot, you've got that but much longer. And they were actually really efficient in gaining energy back and also, delivering the medium speed performance in a section like that. So you've got a lot of racetrack there, which will play to Ferrari's strengths. I think the problem that they're going to have is in race pace. They're just not going to have the energy management as we saw, and indeed the tyre management that Mercedes have over a long stint.
What might also help, though, is the weather forecast, in the sense it's really hot right now. If we're racing today, I think, based on what happened in Austria, Ferrari might fear that slightly. But it's meant to be much cooler on Sunday. It was cooler at Silverstone, and that power unit looked a lot stronger there. So I think that would tally that you'd see a stronger version of Ferrari compared to when they're in the heat.
Are Ferrari in the fight for the World Drivers' Championship with Lewis Hamilton?
Ooh. Yeah, I think so.
An 8th title for Lewis Hamilton. That was an oof from Pablo Montoya.
Yeah. I mean, they're going in the right direction, but my bigger thing here is Mercedes only brought one upgrade, one package. They bring little things, but if they, everybody else brought 2. If they bring another one, they're going to be down the road again.
But I'd rather have it on the car and performing rather than the promise of it coming, because we've seen teams get it wrong. We have seen teams, McLaren haven't upgraded brilliantly this season. They've had issues when they brought certain components, like the rear wing that they brought to Austria. So Mercedes have to actually do that. You're right, the potential's there, but for Ferrari, they've done it so far, so they're heading in the right direction.
And you can listen to more questions like that on F1 Nation. Jolyon Palmer, our very own, and James Hinchcliffe joined Tom Clarkson on that one. They're previewing all things Belgium. We'll move to Mercedes now, because I think the question posed there, and the question I'm going to pose to you guys as well, a very good question from Tom Clarkson, is who is Mercedes and Kimi Antonelli's biggest rival? Is it the reliability of their own power unit and their own car? Is it Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari? Is it each other?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the answer to the last question as well, really, which is, you've got Lewis Hamilton 9 points back from second place in the championship. Both of those cars have lost what we can fairly call a potential win to reliability throughout the first part of the season. If Mercedes can't get these cars reliably to the end of the races, and they're going to hemorrhage 25-point swings to Ferrari, they don't necessarily have to be faster than them every weekend. And when you look at the circuits that are coming up that are going to play to Ferrari's strengths, you've got Zandvoort, you've got Sao Paulo, you've got a load of circuits with those slow and medium speed corners. I absolutely think Ferrari are in the fight.
For me, for Antonelli's side, is himself. They need to close that garage and him just focus on himself. If he just can control that situation, and the problem is when the points shrink, you start thinking about it. And as soon as you start thinking about it, you're going to have issues. So if they can keep Kimi focused on doing Kimi things, he'll be fine.
Yeah, 60-plus lead has become 25. And as I mentioned, he hasn't scored in the last 2 of 3 races. But let's hear from our championship leader, the teenager, Kimi Antonelli.
Tell us about your expectations for Spa this weekend. Charles thinks you guys are going to be quick.
Yeah, I mean, our car has been quick every races, so for sure I'd expect us to be up there. But also Ferrari, they were very strong in Silverstone. Was a surprise, So, but to be fair, we always kind of expected them to be up there because especially when it comes to qualifying, they seem to find some extra time. So definitely we think they can be up there this weekend. And then, of course, you can never write off Red Bull, McLaren, because they can always come out and be fast as well. So, yeah, just as always, just focus on myself. But, yeah, we're pretty confident that the package is going to be good because it's been good all throughout this year.
There you go, Juan Pablo. Focus on myself. He's been listening to you, hasn't he? Kimi Antonelli there. Do you know what? Looking so relaxed, so confident for a man who will carry some frustration, having not scored in 2 of the last 3 through no real fault of his own as well. And what a marked difference that makes to the rookie last season who was wiping away tears in the media pen. Such was the difficulty, such a torrid time he was having in this European season, Alex. What a difference.
It is a difference, but I still think there's distance to travel for Kimi Antonelli. He is so quick. behind the wheel of it. He's a lap time machine, both in the race and in qualifying. But when you look, for example, at a few different incidents throughout this year, and indeed, I don't want to be super harsh on him because it's a failure in the car that's definitely not his fault. But passing of information to the garage and back in Silverstone, a race team will definitely look at that, and he'll definitely learn from that, because throughout this year, something like that's going to happen again, and the points loss might well be less with the information and the experience that Kimi Antonelli has. There have definitely been times this year where Russell has demonstrated his experience, and I think Kimi will only get stronger, pairing that speed with the experience he'll gain.
The hard thing is, how do you do with the brake duct? When, like, that thing open up, you can put anybody in the grid and you're going to think something in the broke front. You know, something in the front of the car breaks, and that's all you can do. The thing that is, like, if I'm George, I need to match him. If you can match him, Kimi's nature is to beat. He doesn't want to run at the same speed. And if you can force him to go out of his comfort zone, mistakes might come.
Chris, quickly then on George, how is he generally when you speak to him? From coming in as top pre-season favourite to seeing this dream of his slowly begin to just drift away?
I think after Silverstone, it was smart of him to actually go, you know what, the gap's about where it should be. The way I've performed, the way Kimi's performed, he's outperformed me over this part of the season. I should be behind him. I think that was a good, realistic switch. He stopped blaming luck all the time. Times it was unlucky, times it wasn't. And he's thinking, what do I need to do better to close this gap? And as Juan Pablo says, if he can do it, then maybe we'll see how can Kimi respond to that.
George has started to understand the car now. The team have told us that basically his issue has been in the low grip circuits, driving the car cleanly through the middle of the corner, which counterintuitively then costs him time in a straight line because he uses more energy in the mid corner than Kimi is doing. And it seems like through the middle of this year, and George is probably the foremost of them, drivers are starting to get the hang of what needs to be done. Now it's George that just needs to do it as consistently as Kimi is.
Yeah, absolutely. Tough on the other side of the garage is flourishing in the way we are seeing Kimi Antonelli do so. And now we come to a track that tests the drivers to their very limit. Isaac Hadjar will talk us through it.
Isaac, what would you say are the main characteristics of Spa?
It's hard to describe with words. It has the best flow. Elevation changes makes it iconic. The fans are very, very present, and they're French speaking. It kind of feels like a home race. Going into turn 1 at La Source, very tight hairpin before a very unfinishable straight line. So it's important to prepare the exit. And then going through Rédillon, nowadays is flat out and will always be iconic. Every lap is enjoyable to go through here. And then it's just very long straight. And now we're going into the best section of the calendar, probably going into Sector 2. And also it's very important to sacrifice turn 6 to make the most of 5 and 7. And going into turn 8 is like a very, very long, kind of hairpin. It's very demanding on the front axle. And then you have this downhill turn 9, launching through the straight before probably the best corner of the season, Pouron, turn 10, is a flat-out left-hander, one of the most iconic high-speed corners. Going into 12 and 13, the tires by this time of the lap are starting to kind of scream, so it's a bit sideways. And then you have one more corner that's kind of slow before a very long straight, so kind of similar to turn 1. You want to prepare the exit. Long straight down to Blanchimont, flat out, very, very long. It's good to have a toe as well. You can make a couple of tenths just by that. The biggest braking of the track for that final chicane, so it's very important to be strong on those brakes and prepare that exit once again before going to the final straight.
Good job, guys. Car was very good.
I've got to say, I think this is my favourite racetrack. If I'm allowed favourites, this is absolutely up there. I just asked Alex Brundle, of course, racing sports cars weekend in, weekend out, how many hours of racing do you think you've done around this place? And you were counting up towards the 200, 300 mark.
Well, several 24-hour races did help, but yeah, I wasn't counting at the time.
Right, so talk to us about the track then, because it is a beast, isn't it, in the best possible way. But now we're seeing these 2026 cars come to play here. How will we see energy management, energy deployment, and what they've learned perhaps from Silverstone and racing there comes here?
Well, firstly, Spa demands everything. It's a sensitivity to efficiency track. So imagine Monza ran flat out at Barcelona and asked you for both things. It needs high-speed corners and it needs long straights. In this era of Formula One, yeah, a massive challenge in energy deployment. You don't get any more energy just because the track's longer. So particularly at the start of the race, if you run for the full distance of the straight up to Les Cons, using all of the energy available, you have none left for the rest of the track. So teams will have to choose how they're going to deploy it over the track length, and it's going to be one of the hardest weekends of the year for that.
I think something very interesting for that is what we saw in the sprint race in Silverstone. The different strategies of deployment on that first lap was insane. Then everybody realized, okay, we need to do it this way. Here, we don't have that. We have one race. So we might see different strategies. If I'm in the middle of the pack, I might be aggressive enough, and if you get a good start, go and take full advantage of it. And then, yeah, might lose a couple of places, but the track position by the time you're done through the middle sector might be quite good.
Yeah, this is a track that normally has been biased towards maybe going more low drag because you've got two sectors that need low drag compared to the middle sector wanting high drag. But it's not as much of a decision now with straight mode that kind of sheds that drag for you at certain times. But at the same time, there is an efficiency curve that Alex and I were talking about earlier that takes someone much more clever than me to draw it right out. But you've got to find a sweet spot because it'll start to penalise you either side. I still think we'll see teams biasing more towards low drag, but that also might make these cars, because they have less downforce in the past, bit of a handful in some of the corners.
And the conundrum is, if we have wet running tomorrow, indeed the first E26 cars we'll see, setup is going to be somewhat of a nightmare. So quite fun for us, perhaps a bit of a nightmare for the teams. Keep an eye out. Must say thanks to Isaac Hadja there for the great track guide. I sat down with him a bit earlier on as well. That interview will be in your pre-race show on Sunday. Worth noting, he did say to me, and I believe this is somewhat of an exclusive, haven't seen it out there in the press just yet, he's starting somewhere towards the back of the grid. So he is taking on penalties, and we often do see drivers take on penalties here because of those long straights, the glorious opportunities to overtake. But we'll get on now to the Red Bull rear wing and the issues that it is causing, certainly on Max Verstappen's side of the garage, that Q3 in Austria. The crash we saw at Silverstone that brought out the safety car and all the chaos that then ensued from there. What is happening with this Red Bull rear wing?
Well, so they've said they're going to revert back to the old specification for this weekend. We obviously saw an incident in Stowe for Verstappen and then one in the last sector in Austria. Incidentally, though, we haven't seen too much on Isaac Hadja's side of the garage in terms of problems. It seems like the flow of the air is not reattaching nicely to the rear wing. That's what the team are telling us. And they're taking it very seriously because obviously Max has to be able to commit to the high-speed corners. Nowhere more so than here at Spa. Surely, though, guys, there's going to be an efficiency loss.
Yeah, but then if you had you wouldn't be pushing the team and said, I'll risk it. That would have been mean. If I was racing and they said, oh, we don't feel comfortable, I'm comfortable, I'm okay. And because if it's an advantage, if it's maybe a tenth of a second or a tenth and a half, I would take it. I mean, yes, if you're Max and you had two issues, and maybe the way Max drives that is more aggressive, whatever it is, it's causing the issues. And it's because, he's probably pushing more and going further. So I don't know. It's really difficult.
We saw a hugely frustrated Max Verstappen. It's unbelievably straight talking. Perhaps the most straight talking, sort of firm, annoyed, frustrated we have seen him in a long time, Chris, didn't we, after Silverstone? He used the words, it's not safe. It kind of questioned his future. What kind of gist were you getting from him?
Yeah, I think he said super dangerous about going off at high speed. And you've got to remember, the sensation in the car for drivers when something fails at that speed must be horrible. But I also felt that he was just saying that, this was specifically about the car, about that problem, about the disappointment of, put all that effort in over a weekend and then nothing to show for it. And he said he needed a reset, but I think that was just to then want to get back in the car, go racing again, after a double header that promised a lot, not always delivered it. I didn't feel those were comments directly related to his future. That just showed the competitor in him was unhappy with the way that he'd had a result taken away from him.
His future is a hot topic of conversation there, and he was getting a little frustrated, shall we say, in the press conference earlier on.
yet more speculation about your future in recent days, recent weeks. Is there any update you can give us?
No.
And what do you make of the speculation?
Nothing.
And do you have a date in mind?
No, there's nothing to say.
So
from my side.
So full commitment to Red Bull 2020.
I said there's nothing to say. So.
Okay.
Okay, I don't want to go here, say yes and no and this and that about my future. I said already many times that if there was something new, I would say it myself.
That is a man who is sick of answering questions about his future and the rumours that are swirling, of course, the links with McLaren. Chris, what are you hearing? What is anything grounded in any sort of fact, or is this all just what happens in the F1 paddock?
I think it's the latter more than anything, because you've got to think there's negotiating tactics at play for what a driver wants, what he wants from his current team, what he might want if he were to move, and you play those things off against each other. From what I've heard, I spoke to Oscar Piastri's camp after Silverstone, because they were very unhappy at some of the reports that were coming out and linking him to a move elsewhere or angling for one. And they were like, absolutely not the case. McLaren tell us we're in it for the long haul. We believe that too. And that is what McLaren have publicly said, which again then tallies with Max just isn't going to come out right now and say, well, I want better terms from Red Bull. That will hurt his hand. But I feel that's the more likely play here.
Okay, we'll move to McLaren then. Max Verstappen firmly at Red Bull, as he has just told us all a number of times. McLaren, they're going to be testing their flip-flop rear wing, despite what they've seen from Max Verstappen. How do you think that's going to go?
It'll be interesting to see. I mean, it's something they tried. They were going to try earlier in the year. They weren't happy with how it was performing, and then they had to shelve it, which, by the way, is the ultimate disaster in this year's F1, because you apply cost cap to these developments, and then if you don't get the opportunity to use them as early as you want to, you don't get the benefit of having spent that money, and the teams are hard up against their cost cap usage. We know that the car is very affected by wind, and the word in the paddock is that they're not quite happy with the gear ratios, and again are against the limit of the cost cap to try and change them. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a car that's just struggling for efficiency generally, but we'll see how they get on this weekend.
Worth noting, both drivers have got the latest spec Mercedes engine in there, but Norris is taking a 10-place grid penalty. That one has been confirmed. He will be taking a 10-place grid job. We're expecting, again, maybe a few more drivers to do the same. I think one of the questions I have when we're looking at McLaren is, how have they gone from being, and maybe the fact is because they ran it so close to the bubble last season, that the development, therefore, of this car almost had to be put on ice, you know, ahead of a championship tilt in both drivers and constructors, but they're now 3 months behind, they say.
Yeah, the hard thing is, first of all, McLaren has the tendency of try things and don't run it straight away. They've done it with the front wings before, so it's not something, I'm sure the drivers would go, oh, let's run it. No. They have their way of doing things, they take their time, and it's what it is. But it's not about 3 months. The thing is, you build something, you bring upgrades, and you see where the upgrades work, and they're probably not as good as they are, or they're finding the car is not as efficient as it needs to be. And if it becomes an efficiency thing, then how do you make more downforce and less drag? You normally, when you bring one up, the other one comes up. One comes with the other. And so they're in a tougher spot than everybody else, let's say.
I know, you look back on last season, Piastri and Norris so dominant here, Piastri taking the win. It seems so far away from where we stand right now. McLaren are expecting a pretty hefty upgrade package in Hungary next time out. You're taking a look, as ever, Alex Brundle, at graphs and squiggly lines and charts, and you're looking at car development throughout the year, aren't you? Talk us through it, here it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting play, actually, when you look through the development of the cars. There appears to be two basic setups of the way that this is being done. You can see the incremental increases and decreases of performance at the front of the field, but then you've got teams like, for example, Williams, who are going to wait for Baku to bring a B-spec car. We think we're only one race away now from a B-spec Aston Martin. That saves a bit of money. in terms of delivery of the cost cap, but you don't obviously get the benefit of the upgrades quite so early. So we'll see what, if anything, is being brought here in Spa. What we're not really capturing there is we've had several incidences of regression throughout this year, and those, I think, are the magic moments. Could this be one incidence of regression for Red Bull here this weekend, where they've actually had to give up efficiency for reliability? I think so.
Okay, right, we're going to take a look at the schedule here at the Belgian Grand Prix. It is a normal Grand Prix weekend, so we have 3 hours of practice. And judging from what we've heard here today, we may well need them. Indeed, if we do have wet running, the first of 2026 here tomorrow. FP1, then these are all on-air times for your pre-shows. 1:10, FP2 at 4:40. And we have Jack Crawford, actually, in the Aston Martin in FP1, so look out for that. FP3, 12:10 on Saturday. Pre-qualifying show at 3:25 for a 4 p.m. start for that hour of qualifying here at one of the greatest racetracks that we see all year. Your post-qualifying show with all of the analysis straight afterwards. Sunday race day, 10 to 2 for your bumper pre-race show with a 3 p.m. start for the Belgian Grand Prix, and the post-race show coming just after the podium with all of the analysis you want to hear. All right then. Final question from me is, who else may spring a surprise? We've covered the top 4 teams and their comings and goings and the ebbs and flows and momentum there, but who else are we keeping an eye on this weekend? And conversely, who perhaps has work to do? Chris?
It's hard to say this is a surprise, but Racing Bulls, for me, the V-Carb team, have just really hit their stride recently, and I'd kind of expect them to continue to do that. So if they can, we've got a fascinating little battle between them and Alpine for 5th in the Constructors' Championship.
Yeah, for me, the crazy thing, they've always been there, and they're always so close to become one of the top 4 teams. And I would love to see them making that final step to finally start challenging the McLarens and even the sister team.
Yeah, Racing Bulls, Alpine looking good.
Yeah, I would say Alpine. With Gasly, has been putting in great performances. I mean, he's had a couple of grid penalties and so on, but throughout the year, that's the key battle that sits just outside the top 10 for me. And yeah, that's definitely the battle. It's going to be really interesting to see how the Audi performs around here on a efficiency-dominated racetrack like that. We know that they bought sort of a full new car back in Austria, and this will be a really good test of it.
There you go, that's plenty of info. A few hints and tips for your F1 fantasy teams, of which I'm still leading the F1 Live leaderboard. Just to let you all know, just to remind you all of that one. But get involved at home as well with F1 Predict. Let us know how your F1 fantasy is going. Predictions, please, for this weekend, here in Weekend Warm-Up.
Not giving you it now.
Oh, go
Fantasy
on.
points.
Go on.
Going to hide them. I'm going to lean towards Mercedes still being the team to beat. I think Ferrari can be close, but I think Mercedes will have learned from the last couple of weeks.
My money... Sorry, I jumped.
No, don't be sorry.
I don't know why I think Lewis is going to win this week.
I was going to say Lewis Hamilton as well.
I think it's going to be a really close fight between them. I think Kim is going to be there. I think George is going to be there. But I don't know why I think Lewis is going to get it done. And when I think Lewis, he either going to do really, really well or he's going to miss the boat completely. And I'm going to go, oh, yeah, I was completely wrong.
Yeah, let's not jinx him for those Ferrari fans out there. Alex?
I can see a Ferrari on pole this weekend. I think Leclerc has every chance of putting the car on pole. Watch for them in a monster middle sector. And I think Russell wins the Grand Prix.
George, what happens to Kimi Antonelli?
Oh, I don't know. Something else falls off. It could easily be a reliability thing. I think he'll be up there. But yeah, could so easily be between Antonelli and Leclerc, and then if the Mercedes makes it to the end of the Grand Prix, that'll be a challenge. But you've got to remember, this is one of the highest load circuits of the year. They rattle through Eau Rouge, and if cars are being challenged by Silverstone, then they're being massively heavily loaded by Spa.
As pit stop practice just starts behind us, let's hope the mechanics there didn't hear you as you talk about things falling off Kimi Antonelli's car.
You've got to have your wing mirrors on.
The most detailed prediction ever, though. I love that they went through the whole way the race will play out.
He's covering all his bases, though. Get off the fence. Come on.
Turn 1. Remember, turn 1 here.
Yeah.
always comes out
Can be a bit of chaos.
Yes.
So they've got their headphones in.
What a wonderful position we're in, though, that we can all name. Right, it could be a George Russell, could be Charles Leclerc, Kimi Antonelli.
It's good.
It's brilliant. It could be a Lewis Hamilton win. And that's why you should stay with us all weekend here at the Belgian Grand Prix to see exactly what will happen. Free practice tomorrow, but it could be wet. That will cause a headache for these teams in terms of setups ahead of the weekend. A headache for what we're going to wear. It's warm and wet. That's a nightmare, isn't it? Less of that, though. We'll see you tomorrow for Free Practice Friday here at the Belgian Grand Prix. Goodbye from Spa.
Welcome back to Belgium, one of Formula One's icons, Spa circuit. And the Grand Prix is go! Let's go racing at one of the great circuits on the planet. Look at this beast of a racetrack.
Try to squeeze me like hell. That's how we race.
It is a glorious place to watch motor racing and a truly historic venue. Ah, he's gone deep. Oh, they made contact. Oh, it's a big one. The 7-time world champion to the race lead. This is a special circuit. Oscar Piastri wins the Belgian Grand Prix.
Let's go. Nicely done.